Okay, I'm Don Sullivan. I'm with the Blue Water chapter of the Antique Truck Club of America. This is our 10th annual truck show in beautiful, scenic Algonac, Michigan. And if you get a chance to come down to our show, you really should be here. We have it about the same time every year in August, and it's a great setting. We're in the Algonac State Park. Lots of shade, lots of grass, lots of nice people, lots of good food, lots of beautiful trucks. And this year we've opened it up to antique construction and farm machinery, and it looks so far like it's a huge success. And I would guess from our attendance this year, we had 70 plus on our registration this year, that we'll probably have the construction and farm equipment next year, and maybe even bigger and better. We're hoping it will be.
George Wacker from Manchester, Michigan. It's a 1931 AA Ford truck. I'm trying to duplicate what my dad started with in 1932. So eventually it's going to have a petroleum tank on it.
Okay, we're Tim and Lauren Wacker from Manchester, Michigan. This is a 1962 H67T Mack. We've only had it about 6 weeks or so. We saw it at the National Show in Syracuse. We're the fourth owners of it. It was originally an over-the-road truck and was stretched to be a flat body so they could pull tractors and stuff with it, and then it basically got parked for a few years until the gentleman we got it from got it, and then he's tinkered with it for quite a few years, and now we got it and we're going to start to tinker with it.
How you guys doing? You like driving that truck? You a good driver? That's a pretty big truck.
So, yep, that's Cody and JC.
This line right here is the horn. The horn is real loud.
Stay right up in the sleeper. Climb back in the back so they can see, Jace.
It's real bouncy.
We plan on finishing the restoration on it, and it needs a little tinkering here and there and such, but it's in really good shape, and so we're excited about it.
I think it's starting again. Let me try it again. Oh, there it goes.
Roger Bertossi. I live in Lenox, and I drove this truck home when it was brand new. And later, a couple years later, it got antifreeze in the engine, so I overhauled the engine for them. That's a B87. It originally come with a 320 engine, 320 Cummins, supercharged, and then it got a 20-speed transmission in it, 2-stick, 20-speed. Yep. Yeah, that was a good gravel truck, boy. That was a tough truck, boy. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Paul Densky Jr. This is a 1963 B61 Mack that my family purchased out of Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. It was in use up until last year. It was an active wrecker. It was his spare, and we purchased it and drove it home and changed very few things on it. We added the name, took some phone numbers off of it, and added the aluminum bud wheels. Truck has approximately 350,000 miles on it, as near as we can tell, and we've done very little. The guy who had it before us really took good care of it. It rides like a Mack truck. I mean, I'm certain you've heard that before. It better than most, not as good as the new ones.
be hard to figure out how to run all the controls? Or
No, it was really easy. If you take a picture of the two levers in the back, I mean, they just pop right. I mean, this is Wrecker 101. You got 2 winches down and 2 winches up. You can go down and up and do whatever you. The boom raises manually. You have to open the door. Pull out the crank. Hook it up, and you can raise each boom individually. Which I have them pretty much lower to fit inside a building.
Yeah, my name's Dennis Marone. I live on Atkins Road up in Port Yorn, Michigan. And my machine is a 1935 Caterpillar. It's called a number 11 Auto Patrol. And mainly it's a grader. Of course, it was used for grading roads and building roads. So in that day, they called them Auto Patrols instead of graders. And this particular one is a gasoline engine. It's a 46 horse. And it's called an R3 engine. It's used in an R3 dozer, the same engine, power unit. And basically I bought it about 4 years ago. I bought it from an old gentleman that was 84 years old. And it was out in his backyard and covered with a wood pile, and it kind of caught my eye. I decided that it looked like something I could dust a little paint on was my original thought, just give it a quickie. Well, that was 4 years ago, and once I got started, it just seemed like it was an ongoing, never-ending project. So, but the engine, it was seized up, and it actually had a broken crankshaft in it. And I had originally thought about just trashing the engine and finding another one, but when I found out that it was this R3 engine, it's a pretty rare combination in a grader.
And it has a crank back there. Is you supposed to be able to crank start? Is it pretty hard to do?
No, that's the only way this model starts. It never had a starter on it. It has a generator. It must have had lighting at one time, some type of lights, which it didn't have when I got it. But PTO drives in here, and when you dog these in, you're actually turning these PTO shafts, and almost everything is some type of a worm gear that raises and lowers and turns. So each one of those levers will either lower one side of the blade or the other. The blade will turn from one side to the other. And then it has the front scarifier that drops down for loosening up any real hard soil. And I think other than that, that's pretty well it. I only have one component on the engine that I wasn't able to find that is a little extension for the manifold I had to have made. But other than that, it's pretty high in the 90s as far as original.
This has always been a dozer, though. This is actually a loader with a dozer blade attachment that it was an option, and it's been on this machine since it was new. And we drug it out of the trees and cleaned her up a little bit and serviced it, and as you probably saw, gave it a little tow, and it was running. And we've had a lot of fun with it, and this is actually the first show I've had it in. The neatest thing about it, it's a 1942. And anybody knows anything about history knows that anything in 42 was built for the war effort. This escaped the military somehow. It's always been a civilian tractor. You wrap a rope around it, just like you would on a lawnmower, and you pull the rope and you start the pony motor, which this is the 2-cylinder gasoline pony motor, and that will in turn warm up the diesel engine. And then with the series of this lever and this lever, you start the diesel engine. It's quite a complicated thing at first, but it's back in the days of this was the way to go. You had the choice of this or a gasoline engine that didn't have near the horsepower or the economy that the diesel's got. You've got this handle works the blade up and down. Of course, these are your 2 steering clutches here, and then you have 2 steering brakes here, and then you've got your gear shift, plus you got a hand clutch and a hand throttle. So you got your hands full all the time. And I would imagine at the end of an 8-hour day, a guy was really tired running one of these things. They really worked and earned their money real well.
Good. Built in Waverly, Iowa. I just talked to the guy one of the original owners. He's 94 years old.
Oh wow!
And he called me from Waverly, Ohio. It was in a stone yard up around Brockway when I bought it.
You're with Larry Hyde, is that right?
Larry Hyde, yeah.
Here's the camera shy Larry Hyde, who has these beautiful vehicles.
Hey, I'm Terry Middleton. I'm from, actually I'm in the military, stationed out in California, so I come back here for vacation and brought some of my toys back with me. This here is a Gibson, it's a Super D. Took me about 3 weeks, went and restored this one here. Runs good, it's got a little Wisconsin engine in it, and didn't bring the blade or anything like that with it, didn't have the room on the trailer. This one here is an on-style tractor, and it's got arm steering up there. Got a little plow back here. Also have cultivators for it and a little front blade.
Would two people ride that at once or not? Or
Yeah, it's for my daughter to ride back here when we go through parades and stuff. This one here is a 48 liter. They were made in Sugarland Falls, Ohio. And this one was pretty well like this when we got it. It's kind of a rare tractor. You don't see too many of them. There's still a few out there though. And the next one down here is my Holder. It's 1960 Holder, made in Germany. Power takeoff, 2-speed power takeoff on it. Hydraulics. Kind of a neat little machine here.
My name's Rod Romaine. I'm from Algonac here locally. This is a 1950 Oliver 66 row crop. Row crop obviously because it's higher off the ground for clearance for your crops. This particular tractor was picked up in St. Louis, Missouri this past January. Originally it was sold to a farmer in Illinois. It's 25 horse, and this was Oliver's Fleet Line series, which started out in 1947, and it consisted of the Model 66, a 77, an 88, and a Super 99. Olivers are very smooth. They've got 6 gears in them as opposed to 3. They've got 2 ranges on the transmission. Oliver's slogan was the finest in farm machinery. As you can see, it's very streamlined. There's actually supposed to be covers that would cover the side of the engine as well. So they're very, very stylish tractors, and obviously you can see from the colors on them, they're very colorful.
Yeah, my name is R.J. Gilmore from Mayville, Michigan. This is a 1951 Ford 8N, and it has a Sherman step-up, step-down transmission in it. Completely dismantled it, reassembled it, and painted every piece as we put it together. Done all the work myself. I do mechanic work and bump and paint work. But the tractor was in immaculate condition when I got it, but it did need painting bad. I used to work at a Ford dealership many years ago, and I find Ford probably the easiest tractor to work on, and by far the cheapest one to buy parts for. You can get parts for these very easy, and but you got to be careful. A lot of the aftermarket parts ain't exactly the same as the original.
I'm Fred Bavel. I'm from East China, Michigan. This is a Farmall Cub. I bought it from Algonac about 8 months ago. The guy that owned it, he died, and I bought it from his niece. I seen the tractor about 4 years ago, and if they ever got ready to sell it, I would like to be interested. So they called me all that time later and asked me if I still wanted it. I said, yeah. So I bought it and I put it in my garage, and I just let her set for a while. Then my wife and we were talking, and my little granddaughter was coming up with her first birthday. She wanted me get her painted up and get it done for her.
Okay, Glenn Spencer from East China, Michigan. This is a 1953 Chevy, half ton. Of course, you know the Korean War was going on, so they used a lot of stainless steel in the truck. It was restored about 5 years ago. I redid the interior this winter. It's back to original. They were used mostly on farms. This top speed is roughly about 40 miles an hour on them. 6-cylinder, 3-speed, very dependable truck. These two engines are called what they call hit and miss engines, gasoline powered. Date back in the early 1900 to about 1930 they used them in factories, on the farms. They ran oil wells with them, water wells, generators. They used them in the factory. They drove belts off them big flywheels there to run machinery. They're called hit and miss because they spin about 22 times and then they fire. So that wheel will spin around 22 revolutions and then it fires. 22 revolutions and fires. They'll actually run for hours on a gallon of gasoline, so they're very economical. That's when they're firing. When you hear that, choo, that's a firing. Magneto ran, and they start them by hand. Just grab a hold of the flywheel, give it about a half a turn, and they're off and running.
59 Ford 292 engine, 8-cylinder. We rescued it out of a barnyard about 4 months ago. All we did was adjust the points on it, dump some clean gas in it, put a battery in it. Drivetrain works perfect, and after the show today, it's getting broke down to get redone completely. That's just the way I bought it, just the way you see it. It's even got a radio, AM radio, and that's really rare in a truck back then. It's got power steering, that was rare.
Hi, we're Mary Lou and Gary Glenn from Thetford, Ontario. I own a 1935 Chev pickup truck. Has a 409 cubic inch small block Chev engine in it with a 700 R4 transmission. The truck was originally from Virginia. Stripped it down, redid it, painted it yellow, and now it's back on the road again. Been enjoying it. We do a little bit of drag racing in our spare time just for some fun. Run 13 seconds, 102 miles an hour. I guess you never get old, you just get more toys to play with, and this is my toy.
Hi, I'm Tom and Zach Hoffman. We're from Kego Harbor, Michigan. We got a 1948 Chevy 1-ton panel van here. Mostly all original. We purchased it about 3 years ago from the second owner. As typical of a commercial truck of that era, you know, it originally only had just the driver's seat. This was a little seat, I think, adapted out of a bus or something that was in here when we got it, you know.
I'm Peter Reisiger. I'm from Cayuga, Ontario. This is a 1952 Chevy panel truck. I found this truck in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in 1989 and restored most of it except for the body and paint by myself, rebuilt the engine, that sort of thing, mechanicals. Did the body in 2000 and it's painted in the original dark green juniper color. It's got a little more modern engine with dual carbs, dual exhaust to give more pep for the highway, and besides that I have a lot of fun with it. Try to travel around different truck shows, car shows and stuff, get around and see the sights.
Okay. Hi, my name's Randy Owens. I'm from Kimball Township or Smiths Creek area here near Port Huron, and it's a 1978 Westphalia camper bus. Peace. And I went down to Florida in 1999 and wanted to buy something when I was down there. I took a trailer with me and I found this down near Disney World somewhere down there, and it's a Florida vehicle and it was in pretty good shape, so I picked it up and trailered it home all the way. Yep. This is all original. It's got a sink and a stove. We just made some Jiffy Pop a little bit ago on it, and it's got a little small refrigerator about the size of a small cooler and that, and you just climb right up into the top through here.
Okay. I'm Scott, and this is my son, Ben Liberty. We're from Dresden, Ontario, and this is our 1952 International Harvester L110. We've had the truck about 4 years now. We bought it from the son of the original owner. It had 20,000 miles on it. It's unrestored, other than some 30-year-old paint. That's about all that's ever been done to it. Since we've had it, we've put about 12,000 miles on it, drive it as much as we can, and we have a blast.
My name's Ken Falting, Ray Township, Michigan. The truck is a 59 Chevrolet 427. It's a 400 turbo transmission with TCI converter and B&M shifter. And the narrow 9-inch Ford rear, 456 gears, fixed spool. It squeals a little going around corners.
Nancy and Frank Peters, Fort Gratiot Township. And it's a 53 Chevy pickup. It's all pretty much original, and we run it on a daily basis. It's been driven back and forth to Florida a couple times. And it's just a very nice truck in general.
All right, it's a 1970 429 Cobra Jet. All right, my name's Joe Furtaw. This is my son Jacob. We have a 1947 modified pickup. It's we've had it about maybe a little over a year putting it together. We got it in a box and we put it together without a picture. Came with original 85 horsepower flathead 8. Now it's got about 475 horse.
Dan Haskell from Oil Springs, Ontario, Canada. It's a 1969 GMC.
And how long have you had this?
4 years.
And what all did you have to do to get it to this shape?
Well, we had the box off and did a pretty much total restoration. Truck's from Alabama.
My name's Dan Mitty from St. Clair, Michigan. It's my son Travis, Brandy, and Jamie. And we picked this truck up out in the field across the street and thought we'd restore it and turn it into more or less like a mud bogging truck. Yeah, it took a whole winter. Just pretty much made everything that can be made on it.
My name is Ron Arsenault. I'm from Sarnia, Ontario. I own this 25 Chevy truck. I bought it in 1987 and it took 9 years to restore it. This is a unique truck, the 25. It was only the 4 years for Chevrolet made in Canada. This truck was built in Oshawa, by the way. 1923 was the first year for Chevy. They only made 400. And this is a 25, so that's why you don't see very many half-ton Chevy pickups. I also want to mention too, this motor in this car, in this truck, is a 4-cylinder, 23 horsepower, original, and a 101 cubic inch.
Hi, I'm Sean Smith. My wife over there is Jolene Smith. We're the owners of the 2000 F350 Super Duty diesel. It's just a huge 4-wheel drive, and we do paint, and I just take it around different shows to advertise the paint and suspension and different things we do to it.
And they have a rope ladder for getting in the truck. And you need it.
Okay, my name is Jack Johnson, and this is a 1962 B61 Mac. It was bought out of Albany, New York, has 126,000 miles on it when I bought it a year ago. And it took us 5 months to get it to this condition. Runs very good. It's been to Syracuse, New York, the National Convention of the American Truck. Been to several truck and car shows since, and we really enjoy driving it. My granddaughter thinks a lot of the truck, and my grandsons are loving it too. So we have a good time.
But it's the Model T Auto Track. It's accessories sold with a Model T to kind of make a Model T into a tractor. So here are the steel wheels they put on the tractor. Of course, they put some rubber tread on it. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to picture that big old ship there. Yeah, while it passes there. You can.
Vern and Shirley Postel. We're from Exeter, Ontario, Canada. This 1953 Rio truck. We've had it about 20 years. We belong to the Rio Club of America, and we've been to about 13 of their meets, and that's sometimes in Canada, mostly in the United States. Rusty and pinholes here and there, and my young son's a body man, so he done the body work, and I do some mechanical, and my oldest son, he's a glass man, so it kind of all works out.
My name is Bob Wilshire. I'm from Sarnia, Ontario, Canada, and I have a 1960 Chev El Camino, which has a 283 Power Glide 2-speed transmission. In 1960, there was 14,163 of these cars made, and at that time, the base price to purchase one was $2,473.
Name's Stan Rumford from Bedford, Ontario, Canada. My truck is a 1955 GMC 450. It's been totally restored. Originally it started out as a fire truck for Dresden, Ontario. I bought it there. We headed back to 2 of their shows and they thought it was a pretty nice truck.
Okay, my name is Dave Siddle from Denfield, Ontario, Canada. It's a auto car, 1966, with a A75 model, aluminum frame.
And that's pretty much the end of the show.